Hello, my name is Amanda Dahlgren, and this is a presentation on the photographer Louis Wicks Hine. This quote really sums up Hine's work. He was a social documentary photographer, and he really had an eye for composition, for posing, and because of that, he really got people to care about his portrait subjects. Hine was born in 1874 in Wisconsin, and his first job was working in an upholstery factory. He was 16 years old when he started, where he worked 13 hours a day, 6 days a week for $4 a week. And the thinking is that that's where he really developed an understanding of the plight of child workers. He enrolled in college at the age of 26, where he studied sociology and teaching. He taught at the Ethical Culture School in New York from the ages of 30 to 34. And while he was there, his boss, the superintendent, asked him to learn photography so that he could just document what was happening at the school. And Hine quickly realized the power of photography as an educational tool. So his first project was to photograph immigrants at Ellis Island, and he did that because he wanted to show his students the plight of the immigrant, and he wanted them to have the same respect for current immigrants as they did for the pilgrims who landed at Plymouth Rock. Hine left teaching in 1908 at the age of 34 and became a photographer and investigator for the National Child Labor Committee. And the NCLC was an agency that promoted child labor, and they were not popular. The people who ran the factories and canneries and all that absolutely did not want the laws changed because child labor was quite profitable. And so when Hine was doing his work for the NCLC, he had to disguise himself in order to gain access. He would pretend to be a salesman or an industrial photographer, and then if he wasn't able to gain access, he would wait outside and photograph the children when they left. In addition to creating the photographs, he would take detailed notes about each child, the name, the age, the job description, date, place, etc. And he did that because he didn't want there to be any doubt of the accuracy of the photographs and information. In the 10 years that he worked for the NCLC, he made more than 5,000 images. And those images, some of them were used in magazines, pamphlets, books, traveling exhibitions, and slide lectures. He and the NCLC really, their goal was to educate the public so that they would support laws against child labor. He is credited with being one of the first social documentary photographers. He really influenced a generation of future documentary photographers, including those who were working for the Farm Security Administration, which is ironic because he was denied a job at the FSA, and the research says that that was probably because he refused to give up the rights to his negatives, and that was required of FSA photographers. He did end up working for some government organizations during, the New Deal, including the Tennessee Valley Authority and the Works Progress Administration. Later in his life, he concentrated on skilled laborers, wanted to show the dignity and intelligence of them, and he made work portraits and published a book called Men at Work in 1932. And one of the things that was in that book was photographs that he was commissioned to take of the Empire State Building being built. So here we see one of the photographs from when he was still a teacher, and he was photographing the immigrants coming to Ellis Island in order to educate his students. So these first three images are from that project. They're all from 1905. And then we get into his work for the NCLC here. So this is from a mine, and he's really showing the conditions that these children are working in, and he's recording all this information. And we're really seeing the conditions. We're seeing these oil lamps on their heads, and then an image like this. He's showing the conditions that the child is in. He's recording all this information to tell us what's happening here. And then he mixes in photographs that are more intimate, more close up, His vantage point is, closer, and the child is looking straight into the camera, and that really helps to garner sympathy for this child. And here's another one, a more intimate portrait. And the ones that are pulled back a little bit farther certainly have their place. So here he's showing, the environment that this little girl is in, and that, she's really quite small compared to all that machinery. And here's a more intimate portrait again. He went to farms and mills and canneries and factories. He was in the city. And here we see another example of just, all the detail that he would record about this young man that really tells us quite a lot of information about him, even beyond just that photograph. And he would do these group shots, individual shots, close up, far away, really all these varied vantage points to help tell the entire story. And sometimes he would even include quotes from the children in his captions. So here we get to see that she says, "No, I don't like it very much." And in this next photograph, this is a 5-year-old boy, and the mother actually provides a quote here, and Hein records it, with all the kind of slang and kind of broken English there. And here in 1920, we see one of the work portraits that he started working on, and that was included in the Men at Work series. And here's an example of one of the photographs that he took when he was commissioned to photograph the people building the Empire State Building. And again, we really get a sense of his gift for composition, for vantage point, really showing us the environment that this man is working in. And here, it's quite dizzying to kind of see this, the city down there, and just how precarious it looks. And we really get a sense of Hein, kind of taking his own life in his hands as well. So in terms of his significance, again, he was a self-taught photographer. He really wasn't an art photographer. So at a time when Stieglitz and the photo secession were really, in 1902 trying to be taken seriously as artists, doing pictorialism, and then kind of transitioning into modernism, Hein really wasn't interested in any of that. He was just, documenting. So even though his images look modern in the sense that they are straight photographs and they are, he had an eye for composition, he wouldn't really be called a modernist photographer. The halftone printing process was really important for the work he did. He made his photographs with the gelatin silver process, but then they were reproduced using the halftone printing process. And that's what allowed the NCLC to really get his images and text out there to everybody. According to historian Naomi Rosenblum, Hein's photographs transcend basic documentation, and what he sought he sought out poses, facial expressions, and gestures that not only would be perceived as truthful, but would also stir the viewer's sympathy and spur them to action. And that really, again, sums up what Hein was all about, truthful yet sympathetic. He really had a huge impact on social reform. It took quite a while, but 30 years after he started the project during the Depression, President FDR signed the Fair Labor Standards Act, which, among other things, placed limits on many forms of child labor, and those laws still survive today.